Hello, I am the narrator, and before this episode begins, Maddie and just Maddie are going to be talking about a little hero that has quite an interesting backstory. Without further ado, let the show begin. Good morning, everybody. My name is Maddie, and today we're going to be talking about Hogsqueal. What is it? And did it come from a movie or a video game? Now, Hogsqueal, if you can take a look at him, very interesting. Now, one thing you need to know about is his powers. He has a very unique ability, which is called blinding sight. I know, it's a bit of an oxymoron, but stay with me. Basically, he has the ability to give humans the ability to see creatures by spitting into their eye. He gives them the ability to see mythical creatures that are invisible to the naked eye, which is pretty cool. Now, Hogsqueal comes from the movie Spiderwick. What is Spiderwick? Well, if you've watched my other videos that I've been discussing over the many other creatures in the movie, it goes a little something like this. Basically, a mother with 3 children move out of the big city into a hand-me-down house of the family. All of them have troubles communicating, or I guess not really communicating, just like getting along with each other, the siblings. So the main character is a little boy, and he's the first to notice something weird going on, with a lot of noises through the house, rummaging through the forest and whatnot. So he starts to investigate what's happening with the house. And upon that, he finds this attic. But it's not just an attic, it's an office, a secret office that's been hidden away. And he finds this book, this huge, thick book filled with information about all these different creatures that is basically the main problem and solution of the story. Let me explain. See, the book has all these creatures in it, which they can use to know all these creatures and know their weaknesses and powers and know if they should be careful with them or not, just like that. But the bad guys who want the book want to use it against the animals and just wipe them out, be the master race kind of thing. So they find it, and this one little creature that's been living in the house has been trying to stop the main character from getting the book, but was eventually spotted and had to confess about what's going on. Upon that, of course, there was an interruption. One of the other siblings was being captured, dragged away by the little evil creatures that want the book. And once, they were saved and everyone started realizing that there was something crazy going on, there's panicking, yelling, screaming, all of that good stuff, they start to realize that they need help. So who do they look for? The author. Yes, but no. He's dead. Kind of. So they look for another option. The daughter. She is still alive. Old, but she is still alive. Of course, they sneak to her place because every time they go out, they bring the book, which puts it in jeopardy, and always happens to have them chasing or running for their life from these monsters. So they go to her. She tells them, oh, you must get rid of it, destroy it, whatever, So that wasn't much help. They go back, they accidentally lose pages at that point too. So the bad guys have a little bit of an up advantage. So now at their last resort, the entire family gets involved and starts boarding up the house. That's right, there's about to be a war zone going on. So they start getting all the bad guys' weaknesses, with the tomatoes and iron and whatnot, and they're boarding up the house and they're ready for a fight. Once the first wave goes with a bunch of minions, and the minions of the boss comes through and come through the walls, the windows, the flooring, Once that wave is done and they're all killed, the boss comes in. But he's secretive. He comes in as the father, since the mother divorced, maybe? Probably, most likely. Comes in, tries to lure the family into giving him the book, but because of his greediness, it was saw right through, and they easily spotted that he was in fact the boss monster. That's of course right. Now you guys are waiting for the boss fight. Which was basically just running through the house. So the kid with the book running around the house, the guy chasing right after him, destroying everything in his path, you know, throwing everything, you know, crashing through the walls because he's so huge. Eventually, they make it all the way to the roof because he's got nowhere to go. Desperate to keep the book away from him, throws it. Good idea. Bad guy turns into a little bird to catch it. Flies right into Hogsqueal. That's right, Hogsqueal, the main guy we're looking for. He grabs him and eats the bird because he is obsessed with birds. There's been multiple, actually, references to how much he loves birds throughout the movie, so you're able to watch it. And me after telling the entire plot. You're welcome.
The interview. How close is it related to the inspiration?
Hello, I am Maddie here with the interview, and I'm here with somebody, so tell us a little about yourself, or to the camera if you could.
Sup? My name's CJ. I like some of those weird creatures you hear about in Greek mythology and whatnot.
So, do you know anything about Hogsqueal from the movie Spiderwick?
Okay, yeah, I know. So, before the movie, I think it was in the books, Hogsqueal was with the goblins, you know, the bad dudes. So, it's a bit of a traitor if you think about it. And, you know, one day they were hunting in a junkyard, I believe. Whenever he found a little critter, it was like cute and fluffy and whatnot, but they normally eat. And he's like, you kinda look like me. I'm gonna keep you. So I assume he just like stuffed him in like in his shirt or something and was like walking around with this big lump. Eventually the goblins found out and put him in a cage. Well, in the movie, that's exactly where they found him. The main character found him in a cage. And after some heavy convincing, I mean like, the Hogsqueal was like jumping around in that cage like a little happy puppy. It's kind of funny to think about it. He was trying to convince the boy to let him out. And eventually he did, and helped the main character get his brother back, because that was the whole point of him just being there, basically. Yeah.
Oh, yes it is. And thank you for your time. This has been Maddie with the interview. Back to the main show. Now, according to Hero Wiki fandom, Hogsqueal is actually a hobgoblin, which kind of makes sense why he was with the goblins, and for who knows how long. Maybe till birth. From birth, sorry, I should say that.
A clip of the character. And are there any Easter eggs or hidden things?
Alright, down in the description there is a video on YouTube of that exact moment I was talking about whenever Hogsqueal met the main character in Spiderwick movie, in the cage and whatnot. So, if you want to see it, you can, you know, whatever. I'm not forcing you. There's something to think about whenever we talk about hobs, which are Hogsqueal's species. It's kind of interesting, actually. A little thing to think about. Quote, like most other hobs, he was born without teeth, and therefore often stealed newly loosed milk teeth from human childs. Which is kind of weird to think about. Because for me, I think like, okay, so for like, yes, many years whenever he was younger, and probably, had to eat things instead of drinking milk. So he would steal teeth and just like jam them up in his gums, I guess. Because with like baby teeth, when they fall out, they don't have the roots in there. So it's kind of interesting.
Where the legend/myth came from. Information about the creature.
So for the hobgoblin, I have a quote right at the beginning. Ready? Okie dokie. Quote, myths and legends about hobgoblins vary widely, with many folklore traditions having their own distant versions. So we're going to be doing kind of a list of some of the creatures that are hobgoblin versions, so that you can get a good idea of what they are. Some of the regions of the folklore that the hobgoblins belong to is like England, German, Dutch, Irish, Swedish, Norse, and probably many more of those. But the word hobgoblin actually has a meaning to it. So, quote. Where is it? Here we go. Mostly with the origin meaning of a demon, devil, or evil, and malignant spirit. Malignant, I kind of looked it up a little bit before, but it basically means that something evil is spreading and destroying, kind of thing. It's more of a medical term, but you guys get the idea. So the hobgoblin is actually kind of a mischievous creature, and especially in Christianity, actually. Didn't really know that. But yeah. But similar to the brownie, which I kind of mentioned in another video, they're both similar because they like to do chores, especially whenever the owner is sleeping. So, quote. Such chores are typically small deeds, like dusting and ironing. This creature is actually kind of picky with its gifts, so you gotta be kind of careful. If you do actually have a hobgoblin in your house, it will only accept food. But if you give it clothes, it will actually leave your house forever and seen it as an offense. That's actually kind of funny. Yes, but quote, hobgoblins are fond of practical jokes and are slightly mischievous, but not necessarily antagonizing. In some other stories, probably in different language and whatnot, some hobgoblins are actually easily annoyed, which is also kind of ironic. They love to tease people, but if they get teased back, they're just like, how dare you? You insulted me. So, yeah. Another name for hobgoblin is Robin Goodfellow. Which is kind of interesting because it's possible that Robin Hood was inspired by the Goodfellow. Quote, both have a penchant for giving travelers a hard time. Punk, which is another name for the hobgoblin, was a shapeshifter, and Robin Hood a master of disguise.
How it looks, what powers or abilities does it have?
There is something kind of unusual about hobgoblins. Some can shapeshift and some cannot. If, by chance, the hobgoblin can shapeshift, oh boy, it can turn into a butt, horse, or eagle. Yes, I said that right. A butt. An actual human butt. Don't ask questions.
Is it mortal or immortal? Where does it live?
Hobgoblins will either live in a house with his people, kind of like a brownie where they do chores, or in a forest by himself. Free.
An interview. Are there any sightings of the creature?
In some stories of the Folka version of the hobgoblins, he would actually turn into a horse and like convince people somehow to like, hey, ride me, ride me, ride me. You take them on this crazy adventure, you know, probably like sticks and stones flying everywhere, probably like making sure they get caught on all these different vines, to the point where he eventually goes to a river or some kind of water source and just boots them off. That's right, he just takes these people on these crazy joyrides and then pushes them in, drops them into the water, so now they're soaked. And he's laughing. Well, there's actually this poem, there's another story, this poem that, what's his face? Famous writer. That guy. I'll just put a picture of him. That guy. He wrote this poem called A Midsummer Night's Dream. Which is actually kind of a lover story. So, there are 4 characters you need to know in this poem. There is Hermia and Lysander. They both love each other. I mean, they got it figured out. They're good to go. But there's Helena, which is Hermia's friend. Helena loves Dymtera, but Dymtera loves Hermia. So it's kind of like a love triangle period question mark. I don't know. So, of course, there's always like this forbidden love, so Hermia and Lysander can't be together. Well, there's one day where they decided like, let's go run off in a forest. We'll just put our forbidden love together and run away from our parents. They do that, but Hermia tells Helena this so that she can get her chance with Dymtera. But, of course, there's always a but. There's a plot twist with this. Helena, instead of doing that, like, yes, I could play my chances on him. No. She tells Dymtera what is happening, and then he follows, because of course he loves Hermia. So now, all 4 of these people are in the forest, looking for each other, probably lost. I don't know. I mean, just crazy stuff is happening. Well, the hobgoblin fairies actually catch on to this. I mean, there is a bit of a subspecies, so the fairies catch on to this, and they're like, let's help them out. We're feeling generous. So they send a punk, which is, of course, a more mischievous hobgoblin. They're like, you, yes you, take this beautiful juice that makes anyone fall in love with just a sight of them, rub it on Dymteria's eyelids, and he will fall in love with Helena. Good plan. But, there's another but. The punk, given these exact instructions, don't know who's who. So he's like, Dymtera, that's a boy. 2 boys, okay. So he puts it on both of them, rubs it on their eyelids. They wake up, and the first thing they see is Helena. That would have been kind of funny if they saw each other. But anyways, they saw Helena, and they're both in love with her. And they're fighting each other for her. Well, Hermia, comes in and figures out, and she's like, you stole my man. And then she challenges Helena to fight. Of course, that doesn't really work, and thankfully, there's a good ending to this. The punk jumps back in, steps in, he's like, I can fix this, and rubs the juices on the correct people, so that when they wake up, they see their lovers, so that Hermia and Lysander love each other again, and that Helena and Dymteris love each other. When they woke up, morning was up, and they were found by their family, of course, and and brought back home. Yay! It's so weird. With that is of course the end of the episode, so if you've enjoyed learning about Hogsqueal as well as hobgoblins, there are links in the description that go more into detail about all of the information we found about it. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe, and have a nice day. Good night. Surely there should be bloopers. I planted a few, just in case. I'm getting growing pains. Why? I'm 16. I haven't had growing pains in years. Doesn't make sense at all. So I'm trying to take my sweet, sweet time, editor. I hope you don't mind. I might open a can of soda and drink while I read my worries away. Read the news, maybe laugh a little bit. Yes. I don't think you want to know the answer. How that looks. 5 is unknown. The hobgoblins will either live in a house with his people or in a forest. Hobgoblins will either live... No, sorry. This is the end of the video. End of the video. End of the video. Bam, bam. End of the video. End of the video. This is the end of the video. Boom, 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 boom. End of the video. End of the video. End of the video. Oh, oh.